All right. Perfect. Hey, everybody. We're back here on the podcast, and we've changed the name recently. We changed the name. I made the decision to change the name from Kill Your Ego to Be the Bison because it just fits a little better. We're still going to have that mission statement of killing your ego, and we have guests on here. I want to have guests on here that aren't loud and don't have egos, and people that are thinking in that mentality of kill your ego. But Be the Bison, we own it. We have it trademarked. It's our website. It's our company. It's our other bison companies, and it just kind of fits for who we are and what we believe in. I think the bison is an incredible animal. It's my favorite animal in the entire world. I think it's the most American animal you can possibly come up with based on its history. With that being said, this first podcast back with Be the Bison podcast, literally for me personally, there's a handful of people that I could have on this podcast that are super, super special. This is one of them. With us here today is Monte Buckmaster, and that is his real last name, Buckmaster. Everybody always laughs about it. But, some of you already know as soon as I say his name and you see him, you know who Monte is. But Monte has been the owner, manager, proprietor of the Mint Bar here in Sheridan, Wyoming for 29 years now. 30,
going on 31.
31 years of owning the Mint Bar. If you don't know what the Mint Bar is, you probably haven't made it past the Rocky Mountains. In my opinion, it's the most quintessential. There's a lot of bars west of the Rocky Mountains that are iconic to the history of America, and specifically the 1900s into this century. But anybody that's been anywhere near Sheridan or been around here, been in Wyoming, Montana, the Dakotas, the Mint Bar is synonymous as a historical landmark. I don't know if it's a historical landmark per se yet, but it will be someday if it's not. But the Mint Bar was founded in 1907, and Monte's owned it for 31 years now, and there's been 18 owners?
No.
Sorry, I'm going to get some of this wrong. I'm not a math. You know me. I break big rocks into small rocks.
I think I told you 18 at one time. I had to do a little refresher on my history on the place, and I dug out that piece of paper where we had all the previous owners down, and I think there's 13.
13 owners.
Yeah, previous.
So even
to us.
less owners.
Yeah.
And then you have owned it for longer than anybody else.
Yeah.
You're being at 30, coming on 31 years. So Monte, I'm going to dive in real quick before I stop running my mouth. When I first got to Sheridan and came here, the Mint Bar is 100 feet from the coffee shop and where we do our hats and our T-shirts, right smack on the middle of Main. It's Main and Grinnell, but it's actually kind of Main and Main in my opinion. It's right smack in downtown. And, I went into the Mint Bar. I was fascinated by it. I'm not a cowboy. I have to say that 1,000 times a month because people... some people try and paint me as a cowboy because I've showed pictures on Instagram riding a horse and I have some bison. I'm not a cowboy. I'm not a rancher. But, the Mint Bar to me, when you step into it, it's like stepping back into time, and the history, artwork, the animals in there, the bar, the ambiance of the bar, and the photos on the wall tell 115-year journey of, I think, the most magnificent bar in America. And I went into that bar when I first started coming here. I'm not a huge drinker. Everybody knows that. I haven't had a drink in almost 2.5 years. I've never really been a drinker my entire life. I've probably been drunk 5 times in my life, and that was with Special Forces guys. But, I don't have anything against drinking. I just don't do well on alcohol. It's not for me. But the Mint Bar became so comfortable for me, and I ended up meeting Monte when I came into the bar, and very quickly I felt like, it's not an age thing, but Monte just felt like an older brother to me. He mentored me. He told me about Sheridan, the history of Sheridan, the history of this block, the town, the region, not just here, but also in the Dakotas. And, it was a tough thing to move to Wyoming completely on your own and to find somebody who's lived in this region their entire life that didn't hold a grudge that somebody was moving in from out of town, and actually took me per se under his wing for that first couple years that I was here. So that's my relationship with Monte. one of those things that we talk about on this show is small businesses in America. I want to push that and push that and push that. With that being said, the more I got to know Monte, his story became more. The more I got to know you, your story became more impressive to me, because you didn't just stumble onto a pile of gold or have a money tree in your backyard. And I'm going to have you take over from here and kind of tell your path from Belle Fourche and working on ranches to UPS to buying one of the most famous bars in America.
Well,
put you in the spotlight.
Yeah.
And again, you take it away. I really would love for everybody to hear, kind of some of the stories you've shared with me about working right down the road from Devil's Tower, and how you just worked. You literally worked and played sports and worked your whole entire life, and you haven't stopped.
Well, I kind of have.
Yeah, a little bit, but even your stopping is, working more than most people.
Yeah. Well, I'm from Belle Fourche, South Dakota. I have 2 sisters and a brother, and they're all older than I am. And my brother was a practicing attorney there in Belle Fourche. And, small town, 5,000 people, 118 kids in my graduating class. And that's still to this day the biggest class that ever came out of that school. And there's still 5,000 people there from 1972. So, I hung around South Dakota for quite a while. I didn't finish my college education, and I don't know, that sense of adventure was calling on me. And I packed up and left South Dakota in I was a winter of 79, and moved to Rock Springs, of all places. And it was
I'm laughing because Rock Springs is kind of smack in the center of Wyoming, and it's not the easiest place to live. It's kind of go ahead.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah,
pretty tough. I had a connection there. My sister lived there, and I moved out there because there was a lot of work. I was just starving to death in South Dakota. Just working as a laborer, was not going to get you ahead in that state. And it was hard to leave, because that's where I was born and raised, and I knew everybody. And
high school football star, the whole works.
All that stuff, softball, and but I did it, and I got hired on with UPS there, and I worked the peak season, the Christmas season, and they had an extremely high turnover rate, and I was just seasonal help, but they called me back, the first week in January.
So how old were you at this time?
I was
early 20s?
29.
Gotcha, okay.
Just 29, maybe 30. And they called me back, and I qualified as a driver, and poof, there I had a real job, a real good paying job, a hard job. The Rock Springs is a tough place to live. That had a very high transient population there because of the boom, the oil, gas, coal, Trona. There were just people coming there from all over the place, and the locals, there was a lot of crime in that part of the country at the time. And you probably heard some of the stories that came out of there, about Cantrell and
yep.
Michael Rosa, the guy that Cantrell shot.
Yep.
That kind of stuff was going on pretty regular. But, I was a little bit nervous because I was pretty naive, about living there and living in that part of the country and stuff. But I was just totally focused on the job, and it really worked out well for me. I made a few friends around, and the work ethic that I was taught when I was young carried over into that job. And
let's flash back into that, like rewind a little bit. Growing up as a kid for you,
right?
Because you and I, I said I was going to Devil's Tower. This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You said, hey, I had gone there. I think I was driving from somewhere to come back to Sheridan. And you said, hey, did you drive down the road that's got the overlook and the ice cream shop and stuff? And I said, which I was blown away by, because it sits on the edge of a cliff, and you have Devil's Tower right in front of you, and there's a big canyon. And you had said, man, right across the road.
Yeah.
I'll let you take it from there. But
well, yeah. It was, when we were young, we weren't a wealthy family, and everybody, if you want something, you got to go work for it. And a lot of my friends, around Belle Fourche were farmers, ranchers and stuff. And sometimes I get to go out to their place and clown around, spend the night like guys do sometimes. But that kind of got in my blood, the agriculture end of it. And
what'd you like about it?
There's, just being outside and in the machinery. I liked mechanicking, and I liked driving tractors and turning up the dirt.
Love it.
I did. I just loved it. And the work is hard and it doesn't pay very well, but it was great being outside all the time. A lot of wildlife around, and I saw all that.
Yeah.
And then when I was 15, I ran across a guy in Belle Fourche who lived up by the tower, and I was in J.C. Penney's, and he walked up to me and asked me if I was looking for a job. And I was just out of school for the summer. And I remember it was a rainy day. I still remember very clear. And he said he was looking for a hired hand, and I said I would be interested. And he knew my mom because she worked at Safeway, and Charlie would come to town, about once a week and load up on groceries, and Mom would check them out, and away they'd go back up to the tower. And so Mom knew who he was, but Mom and Dad allowed me to go up there and work that summer. And what an adventure. 15 years old, I worked 6 days a week. I got paid $100 a month plus room and board,
which is probably pretty good for Belle Fourche for that, or that area.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I was just glad to be making some money and stuff. And I spent the whole summer up there with Charlie, and he taught me how to drive tractors and mechanic and weld, and we stacked hay, and summer followed wheat ground, and he taught me how to run his combine. I filled the trucks while he ran the trucks to Belle Fourche and back. And it was an old, smaller combine, and you couldn't get around the field before the hopper was full, and you have to turn around and go back. And it was a one-man deal out there in a field. There's nobody shuttling trucks to me. But I did it all. I shoveled it and combined it, and when I needed more room, I'd jump off and go over there and shovel grain and level it out and fill it up some more and all that kind of stuff. But that was my summer that year. And I thought I was rich at the end of the summer when I had $300. I went and bought my own school clothes and supplies, and that was my 15th year, So, and then after that, I worked on farms around Belle Fourche, up until I graduated. And
which if you haven't been there, I always recommend it. I think Devil's Tower, everybody knows what it is from the movies and stuff like that, if you're old enough to have watched some of those movies. But if you get a chance to go through, you're on I-90 or you're going through that part of the country, Deadwood, Rapid City, I highly recommend going to Devil's Tower. It's pretty phenomenal, but the drive up to Devil's Tower is even just as neat as Devil's Tower. It's little ranches tucked into hillsides, and it's just it's a half an hour, 45 minutes off the highway, then you hit Devil's Tower, then you get back on the highway. If you ever get a chance to go through there, really neat part of America that gets kind of overshadowed by Mount Rushmore and Deadwood and stuff like that, but it's worth every penny. And then when you get to the park, it's just, you drive up, around a hill up to Devil's Tower, and there's deer everywhere and animals, and there's prairie dog towns, and it's neat. If you got kids in a family, or if you just like geology and natural landscapes, you can't fathom what Devil's Tower is until you're standing at the base of it or you walk around it. It's just pretty cool.
The contrast in colors.
Yeah, it's just
around
neat.
The tower. Just red soil.
Yep.
Green forest, huge
pine
gray
trees,
rock.
gray rock. Yeah, it's just neat. And everybody in that part of the country is, as nice as you are to people there, you're going to get it back times 10. It's just a neat place.
Yeah.
And Belle Fourche, the town, I'm probably mispronouncing it because I'm not from here, but it's, it's a small town. You drive right through it, Main Street, railroad tracks. It is a cool little town. It's, Monty said it's 5,000 people, and it feels like it's 5,000 or less, and it hasn't changed. I've only been here for 3 years, but I've looked at old photos of it. It's just a neat town that's right smack out in the middle of that part of the region of the country, and it's just neat. Sorry, A lot of people,
That's all right. That's all right.
make their way up here. I want them to stop by there because people will drive by it and they won't even, they won't take the half hour, 45 minutes to journey off the highway.
On the 4th of July, they have a rodeo there, and that used to be the granddaddy of them all, the Black Hills Roundup.
And that's in Belfouche?
In Belfouche, but Cheyenne, got the ball and took it and ran with it. And, in the other rodeos, they've become bigger events, than the Black Hills Roundup. But that used to be it's still a really good rodeo. And the parade, I remember when I was a kid, there'd be 4 or 5 marching bands in this, and now you can't hardly get one, to come out. You have to pay them a lot.
Right.
To come. But as a kid, that was really cool watching those marching bands go by. They had them cool-looking uniforms on. It was really neat. I miss those old days.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get back there. Hopefully if I feel like that's happening, obviously not right now with the pandemic and stuff going on, but what a neat area, absolutely neat area. So you ended up in Rock Springs working for UPS, which I was one of those people that takes getting a package for granted. And Devin Riley, friends with Sam Davis, who you had on here, they both worked at the same ranch together. But Devin took a job recently. He's a bronc rider, and he took a job with UPS in Gillette. And he was on here last couple weeks ago, and he was kind of talking about it. But you and I had been sitting at the bar, and you started to go into UPS, and it blew my mind. The schedules, the routes, and it's just something you don't think about. You take it for granted. I'll never, after that conversation, I will never take for granted a package being a little bit late or, whatever it is. I will never take for granted the mail system in this country, specifically, like UPS and FedEx. But you had talked about that and how regimented it was in your route and times and hitting your numbers, but being, with the top priority being safety on top of that.
Yeah.
But, go into a little bit, if you don't mind, UPS, like not the company, but what that did for you and your work there, because it was not an easy job.
No, it wasn't an easy job. By the time I was 18, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a farmer.
Right.
That was the only thing I've ever really wanted to do, really bad, But, I just couldn't do it. Too hard to get started, and you work a lifetime and end up with not very much, unless things really work out well. There's too many factors,
right.
That can ruin it. But that strong work ethic that I had, or was taught, or that I followed, carried over into that job, and it just fit me, that there wasn't anything, that would stop me from getting a package delivered, because that's what UPS sells, is a commitment to service.
Right.
And if they pick up a package in Portland, Oregon, and it's going to get delivered in Sheridan, Wyoming, and their commitment to service on that is 3 days, and if it's in your package car, you better get it delivered.
Right.
You don't want to come back to the building and tell the boss, I didn't have time for this one. Because if that was the case, I would put that package in my car or truck or whatever I had, and I'd go back out there and I'd get it delivered.
Right.
Because that's the obligation. And, and that gets ingrained into your mind about, as a driver, that's your duty, and that's what you're getting paid for, is to uphold, their commitment to service.
Right.
And, you get everybody on your page or on that kind of a pattern, a thinking pattern and commitment, you can have a really successful operation, but it's hard, at Christmas time, oh man, it's so cold, it's twice the amount of work that you normally would have.
Right.
And you got the same amount of time to get it done. And it was fun sometimes, but some other times it was very challenging. And but I learned from that, about people, that it wasn't just me anymore. When I got promoted up, I was a driver for 1 year and 2 months down in Rock Springs. And a new manager came in, and he just happened to be from South Dakota. He was from a little town down around Pierre called Red Owl.
Yep.
But he went to school in Sturgis. And I knew the last name, but, I didn't know him. And it was just happenstance that it worked out that way. He transferred down from Jackson because Rock Springs was notoriously one of the poorest running operations in the United States. And Pete loved a challenge. So they moved him down there, and of course he was looking for new supervisors and everything, and I just, I was so glad to have a really good paying job that, I would do anything they ask, and there was work there that somebody couldn't get done. Put it in my package car, I'll get it,
Yeah. So,
if there was a 12-hour day, I did it. It didn't matter. I was just going to do the work because it was overtime, it was extra money, and I'd get my work done and come in, and I just had a bigger paycheck. I wasn't afraid, to go do the work. And the new boss came in, and he started looking around at people, and apparently I jumped off the page, so to speak. Now,
just based on your numbers and
the way I worked.
Time clock and the way you worked.
Yeah, the way I worked. I'm not patting myself on the back here, but that's what it was, that drew the attention. And he insisted, that he let him promote me up. And I drugged my feet on it for quite a while. I told him, I said, I just like doing them. I like
pretty happy
packages. Yeah,
driving a package truck. And
well, I was a swing driver, which meant I covered anybody else's route. There was a lot of seniority in that building, and there were 18 routes at that time, and I could run anybody's route and do as well on it as they did, and that's, the boss really likes to see that, so that you don't see any, in the operations daily report, you don't see any numbers falling backwards because somebody went on vacation.
Right.
So that was a real challenge for me, and I liked that. So I could cover anybody's route, 18 different routes. I knew every deliverable address, in the southwest corner of Wyoming. And it really challenged me sometimes, And if I knew I was late, I wouldn't take a lunch. I wouldn't stop. I'd rest on the way back,
Right.
Get back and get checked in and get done. Well, anyway, he worked on me quite a while, and I just liked the work. I wanted to work that way, and I didn't want to have to think about managing somebody else, and I just wanted to do the route. But he finally broke me down and promoted me. And I thought delivering all those packages was hard. Trying to manage that operation was a whole nother thing.
The human variable.
Yep. Because, I soon learned that people weren't as motivated as I was. And trying to get them to do what I was doing was almost impossible, I mean, it was really hard. But, I had to spare you all the hoopla down there. But in the end, the job market in Rock Springs was so competitive at that time that we couldn't keep any help. Okay, the wages were about the same if you were in the oil and gas, or if you were at a coal mine, or over at the soda ash mines, the Trona. It was all about the same. But you didn't have to work as hard at these other jobs as you did at UPS. So people were leaving. They go take an equal paying job, and they have to work so hard. So we had to fill all those spots. And this is no joke. We turned over 63 people in the first quarter after I became a supervisor down there. And we were looking to fill 2, maybe 3 positions. But we went through 63 people before we got somebody to stay. And that was hard.
You guys just set a standard and maintained it.
Yeah. And once we finally, once that boom kind of started leveling out down there, the jobs became a little more scarce, then people became a little more interested in staying there and seeing how it works out. The first month you're a driver at UPS, it's a killer. And there's so much to learn. and you have to perform at a certain level, or they won't keep you. And we spent a lot of time trying to get people to hang on. It'll get easier. It'll get better for you. You just got to stay.
Just fight it out.
Yeah. And, we couldn't get people past 2 weeks. You go, blow this pop stand, and they're out of there. So anyway, we got it done, and then the next year, instead of being the GOAT, of the division in the Rocky Mountain District, now we're the best in the Rocky Mountain District. And that was Colorado and Wyoming combined.
It's a pretty big market, I'm guessing. Big region.
Yeah, pretty good sized. There's bigger ones, of course. You get on the East Coast, there's a lot more, but the area. But just being on the operation report when you're being compared to other operations around down in Colorado, Metro Denver or Durango or, down at Pueblo or something like that,
And you guys were whooping their butts?
We were number one. Pete put it all together, and he'd go out and train a driver when he could, but most of the time it was me out. Once we got everybody trained, then it was follow-up rides, train, and that was just my job, just to train, and now we're the stars.
Love it.
So it was great because our boss, the division manager, he's like, wow, this is great. Summer comes, he said, so if you guys want to go play golf on Friday afternoon, he said, I don't have a problem with that. Just make sure I've got your weekly planner, and call to your customer counter clerk, mid-afternoon, make sure everything's all right, and go have some fun. He says, I don't have a problem with that. He says, but if you got a sick baby out there, and I call, and you're on the golf course, he said, we're going to have a problem.
Gotcha.
He says,
which is the way, that right there is the way, again, you talk about business in America, that's, you have to have a work-life balance. And that was one of the things I was going to address with you, because you own the Mint Bar, you run the Mint Bar, you're there every day, you're doing your books, you're doing everything from top to bottom, but you also take time, which opened my eyes up with this stuff, because it got crazy, not just me, but Candace and other people. But, what are you up to? You and I will bump into each other, on the sidewalk, and I'm going to South America to go fishing. Yeah. But just to be able to do that, because my dad didn't do that. I don't know if your dad did that. My dad didn't do that. My dad very rarely took time off, and if he did take time off, he was still thinking about work. Yeah. He did take vacations, but they weren't a vacation per se. Yeah. But, watching you going, hey, no, I'm going to go bone fishing. I'm going to go fishing somewhere, or go to South America, or go here, go there. But I love the idea of that, and I'm trying to do that with the stuff that I'm involved in. Is if you're not happy at your job and you don't get to take any time off, then what's the point of doing it?
Right.
It just, you can't pull up to your job every day and be unhappy, because especially if you're a forward-facing business and you deal with customers, interact with them, you're just going to push that negativity right through your product or your service right into their hands and right into their brain, and it's just not healthy. So I love that. You had told me that before, and that's one of those things, like a business should be like that. If somebody's working hard and doing good, you should be able to say, hey, it's Friday. This will be here tomorrow. Customers are taking care of it. The place isn't burning down. Go home.
Go do something.
Go do something. Yeah. Just don't be here.
Yeah. I've had to send Kat away a number of times.
Yeah.
Kat.
Yep.
That's okay. Go
it's
ahead.
Fine. Yeah.
It's Saturday afternoon. Get out of here.
Yeah. So that fast forward a little bit. So you did really well at UPS in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And at what point in anybody's right mind, but specifically yours, do you say, screw it, I'm going to buy a bar? Because you always hear it. Restaurants and bars are the two hardest things small businesses to own or run in America. Yeah. Mind you bought one that had been established for, at that point, 80 years or whatever it was. But tell the story of how that transpired, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I'm going to back up just a little bit, though. Okay. I want to finish up with that UPS thing. And my philosophy, UPS will train their managers endlessly and relentlessly,
right,
keeping you fresh. And when you're a package car driver, a delivery guy, you're the boss of that package car, and you're the boss of all the contents in there, and you're the boss of getting it to the people, okay? And, I don't want to say that you have a lot of latitude, because you really don't, but you're out there all day by yourself, doing this job, okay? You get turned loose in the morning, go deliver it, okay? And you're the boss, right? And you're a participant in the success of the company, gauged on how well you deliver these packages. Are they delivered safe? I didn't wreck the package car today. I didn't hurt myself. The customer got it. It's on time. It's a successful day. You want to do that every day. And you feel like a part of the company. Okay, at least I did, and especially when I became a manager for them. Well, I kind of keep that same philosophy to this day, because, it was a hard thing going into the bar business, and now I'll get back into how we got the bar. My brother called me up one day. The guy that owned the bar, Harold Riley, lived in Belle Fourche. He owned the truck stop in Sheridan here out on North Main, down there right across the street from McDonald's. I think it might have been a Skelly or a Texaco. I can't remember, whatever it was, but it was a pretty busy place. And Harold did really well with that. How Harold acquired ownership of that bar, I don't know. Never found that out. But Harold came in one day to my brother's office, the lawyer, because my brother, Harold was kind of a family friend. My dad and him were kind of friends, and Harold knew my brother pretty well, and because of the golf at the country club there, and Harold came in to get some work done one day, some estate planning or something, and told my brother that he was going to sell the bar.
So real quick, I'm going to interrupt. So your brother took kind of a different path than you.
Yeah.
College, law school.
Yep.
Came back to Belle Fourche to practice law. I can't imagine there's too many lawyers at the time in Belle Fourche. So
there's a lot of them. It's surprising.
Okay.
Surprising how many there was there. For such a small town, I didn't know how he was ever going to make a living, but he had more work and he knew what.
But he went to college, went to law school, came back and professional in Belle Fourche, South Dakota.
Yeah, what he had to do, to get that done there was a lot of sacrifice.
Right.
I remember him going to school, over in Spearfish, Black Hills State College, and I don't remember what his hour load was, but then he had come back and go to work at the bentonite plant and put an 8-hour shift in.
What plant?
The bentonite.
What is that?
American colloid.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, it's volcanic ash, it's a clay. It's in everything. He needed to work a swing shift out there. And I don't know that he worked 8-hour shifts all the time. I think a lot of it was a partial shift, but they really liked him out there, and I think they made some of that happen for him.
So that he could go to school
Yep.
and work at the plant.
Yep. And he was married and pay rent and, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, there was a lot of sacrifice there. And then when he finally got into law school, it wasn't over yet. I mean, his wife worked down there, but, they don't pay diddly for wages, in college towns.
Right.
And, they managed. Let's just put it that way. And he got through, and then he got hired by a law firm back in Belle Fourche. So that worked out pretty well. And it was a few years after that he broke out on his own.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted.
No,
I just
okay.
wanted because you've told me that story before. I just wanted people to hear it. That leading up to this wasn't an easy path for you guys to get to where we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
One of the best bars in America.
Yeah. So I'm living in Sheridan, and Deadwood, had launched. The turned it into casinos. They legalized gambling over there, and Harold had a casino up there, and there were a bunch of guys involved in it and stuff. But I think it was just kind of iffy whether that one was going to work or not. But Harold, for some reason, decided he wanted to sell the mint and whatever it was, and so he told my brother about it. And my brother called me up and says, You want to partner up?
Are you still working at UPS at the time?
No.
Okay,
no,
you're
not anymore.
Gotcha. You're farming here in here in Sheridan, Wyoming.
Yep. And he says Harold wants to sell the bar. He says, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I moved here and got transferred here in '84, and this is 1990, and I'd been in that bar twice. I didn't have time to go to the bar back then, and
right.
I knew that it was a real good place, but I never really considered owning a bar.
Right.
It was not in my plan.
No, because you came back here and then you ended up buying a farm outside of town.
Well, I married into that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you were running a farm, like you were working a farm every day, doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So you had a pretty.
I liked what I was doing.
You like what you're doing, and your brother throws this idea at you of, hey, let's buy the mint bar.
Yeah. And I told my brother, I says, we don't know anything about running a bar.
Neither of you had any bar experience
none.
At all. Restaurant, bar, nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. And if I would have thought a little bit stronger about this, that, I didn't ever really pay any attention to the bar business. I go in, have a beer or two or something like that, and go out. I never thought about, managing one, what it takes, to inventory the people, all the trouble that goes with it. I didn't ever really think about that. And had I thought about, how much I was going to have to be there and some of the trouble that goes along with it, I might have changed my mind, because it's not very appealing.
No.
When somebody's wanting to beat the hell out of you.
Yeah. Yep.
I didn't need to be around that kind of stuff, but I just went, okay. So and 7 days later we closed.
That fast.
That
just
fast.
Quick.
Because it was in high demand that I didn't really know, that everybody in town, wanted to buy that bar, and they were lined up, to get it. And we had closed on the deal before anybody even knew that it was up for sale. Yeah,
which is incredible to me. Like you said, everybody wanted to buy it. Like, again, for those of you listening that haven't been to Sheridan, if you come here, you gotta, even if you're not a drinker, come here, walk into the mint bar. Monty's got a cup here. It's these plastic cups that every bar sells. But in addition to the libations they sell there, they got the best fountain Coke on the planet. I don't know what it is about your ice and your Coke, but it's the best Coke. Come in, if you don't drink, have a Coke and just see the mint bar, walk back and forth up and down the bar. And you don't have to come on Friday night when it's crazy or Saturday night. Come in there at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and just take a half an hour to spend some time in the bar, because it's a good weird mix of gas and oil people, ranchers, cowboys, cowgirls, you name it, roughnecks, to every business in town, whether it's lawyers, when you go into the mint bar, it's just the mint bar. But the history on the wall and the feel of the place. Sorry, I'm getting nostalgic here and interrupting, but if you come through Sheridan, you need to come to the mint bar. You just have to. It's got one of the most iconic signs in America, which you can walk out and sit on Main Street. I sit out when it's nice in front of the coffee shop on a bench every now and then, and 9 out of 10 people that walk by get a photo underneath underneath the bucking horse. But yeah, that to me, it's just, if you come through here, you got to go to the mint bar. But sorry to interrupt.
No,
so
it's okay.
So you made the decision. You guys closed in 7 days.
Yeah.
So you're out probably in that 7 days, are still farming and driving a tractor and working cows and doing this and that and everything else. And then you're going to go, which I'm assuming in that 7 days, you probably went to the mint bar 30 times to check it out. Maybe not. Did you go in and say, hey, what the hell are we buying? What am I getting myself into?
I did one day.
Just went in as a fly on the wall and just sat and watched for a bit?
Yeah, it was I had picked up an extra job with N.A. Nelson Construction, and we built the grandstands at the fairgrounds. I knew Brad Nelson. He knew that I worked for UPS, or had. He needed somebody to supervise some guys, and he talked me into that.
So you're managing construction, working the farm.
And I don't know anything about construction either. It was just the people, So anyway, we make this deal. We haven't signed the papers yet, And I thought, maybe I would go down there and look at what we're buying. So one afternoon after I got off work, I came in the back door of the bar, and there was just a few people in there, and they were all up by the front door. And I came in the back door, and I sat down, kind of by that TV on the east end there. I was just sitting there, and the bartender had her foot up on the sink there, talking to these guys. She gave me one look and looked the other way, and wouldn't come down and wait on me. I was just going to have a beer and then walk around the bar and look at it. She wouldn't even wait on me, so I just got up and I walked around and looked around at the bar and stuff, and then I went out the back door.
So what were you thinking then? Because I know how you run your bar, and your employees, you're the exact opposite of that. Like, even when the Mint Bar is crowded on a Friday night with 70 people to get through to get a drink, the girls in your team there do the best they can.
Yeah.
So were you like, okay, this is already going to be a challenge?
Well, I was wondering, at that point. But we signed the deal on it, and within 2 weeks she was gone. That's how that worked out. Boy, and I got raked over the coals for that one, because I didn't even know who the lady was, but she was kind of a well-known bartender there. And
so you're the new guys that just thought one of the oldest, best bars west of the Rocky Mountains, and you got rid of
I axed
one of their main bartenders.
Actually, the manager called me up one night and says, "Can I get rid of her?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I didn't have to go in and do the chop, and she did it, but my phone number got out, and I started getting phone calls at home right away. Now I'm going, oh boy,
what did I
the
get
lid is
myself
off.
what did I get myself into?
So, it was pretty intimidating. And we had a manager there, old Charlie, and, I love Charlie. She was a super nice person, and everybody in town loved her. And Harold had hired her. She ran the Kelly Motor Inn in Spearfish. And Harold used to stop in there, and when he bought the Mint, he got Charlie to come up here and run it. He moved her up here, and she ran that bar, for a long time. And that's how she got here. But she's from not Ekalaka. I can't think of Southeast Montana, little town. Anyway, she's from a little town up there, and after she retired, she moved back up there because her daughter was there. But anyway, moving on. So, my brother's busy, and I was kind of busy doing my stuff, but somebody had to get involved in it.
Right.
We couldn't just let it go, and expect to make any money. So I started working my way in and getting rejected by the manager the whole time, because the word was out, 2 rabbit chokers from South Dakota are going to turn this place into a sports bar. It's done with. They're going to be selling hamburgers and stuff here. I'm not kidding you. Bobby Lackman said that to me one day, and I was like, wait a minute. We just got it, and we don't have any plans to do anything.
Right.
We're just going to keep it the way it is. And, but you guys.
Which 30 years later, coming on 31 years, what have you changed in the bar since you bought it? It's got a jukebox. What else has changed? Because you and I had that conversation. I was sitting in there and I said, what have you changed? And it was remarkable that you really haven't changed anything. Except added, there's an ATM and a jukebox.
There's some modern updates in there, like, we got an internet jukebox and, of course, the ATM. But, I've cycled through the bar stools 4 times. I won't now, though, because I got these custom-made ones in there.
Yeah, you had a leather saddle maker, leather guy. Build custom Wyoming.
And I put a new ceiling in back by the pool table.
Yeah.
Just some general maintenance. But outside of that bar hasn't changed one damn bit.
No, and it's great. You and I had that conversation because I remember I was walking down the street or in the alley or something, and you said, hey, come in, I need you for a second, and I'm climbing up a ladder while you're redoing the air conditioning vent. And you said that. I said, hey, what has changed here? And you said nothing. No. We've reupholstered the seats a few times. We've done this, but the bar hasn't changed in 30 years. And if you look at the photos you have from the original bar, it really hasn't changed much.
No.
It's just, it looked almost like that early 1900s style. There's photos of the history of the bar all over the bar. You can see, some of the old photos and some of the old owners. But yeah, that's remarkable. So a few modern conveniences, but nothing else has really changed.
You know, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you know, my brother a few times had some ideas that, you know, I just was like, no, I don't think we should do that. And, you know, we kind of knocked heads a few times over that. But in the long run, he understood, you know, and he told me not too long ago that, you know, what you wanted to do was the right way to go. Just leave it alone. You know, it is what it is, and that's why people like it. I'll tell you a funny little story. Every now and then on the wall there, you know, where the pictures are, every now and then the glass will get broken, one of those, you know, and we take it off, and hopefully the picture didn't get cut, and I run it over to Parker's Glass, and they put a new piece of glass in there and come back and put it on a wall. Well, we had one get broke, but it didn't get put back in the same place. I don't remember what the circumstances were there, but my brother had come to town, and he was sitting at the bar, and there was some lady there talking to him, and she goes, by the way, what happened to that picture, you know, that was right there? And he goes, I think it's down there on the other end now. And she just looked at him, she says, well, that isn't where it belongs. Oh, okay.
I love it.
Yeah,
so that's a mint bar.
Yeah, you just like, I mean, that place means so much to so many people in town.
Well, and it's amazing to me. I'm new here. You know, I if I have it my way, I'll die in Sheridan County. I'll never leave. I love where I live. I love Story. I love here. You know, I moved here for a reason, and I've found peace here. I love it here. You know, I'll never leave here, but it's amazing to me how many times I'll talk to somebody in this town and they'll start to tell a story about somebody riding a buffalo or an old bronc rider. Again, I'm not a rancher, a cowboy, a bronc rider. I'm horrible on a horse, but how many times people will say, yeah, his photo's on the, you'll go, he's my great grandpa, his photo's on the wall riding a buffalo or riding a, you know, this guy was one arm and he was still a rodeo champion. His photos on the, and they won't just say that, but they'll say, if you go, there's a ram's head on the wall, go down, look for photos. It's just incredible how many people in the history of Sheridan, and not just Sheridan County, but this region, are on that wall. Mm-hmm. You know, the founders, not the founders per se, but the next generation after the homesteaders. Man, there's just, I could look at that wall every time I go in there. I could look at it for 2 hours. But it's remarkable. And then I don't know how much you want to get into it, but the history of the bar, like the poker room and downstairs and how things were done. And, you know, I would love to talk about it a little bit. And then if we could go over and take some photos so we can put it up on the YouTube with it, if you're up for it.
Sure.
But there used to be a poker room in the back. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit, because that to me is where my brain. I wish I grew up in the early 1900s or the 1800s. To go into a saloon or a pub or a bar and have a poker room like that, it fascinates me. It just fascinates me. Even not being a big drinker, it just fascinates me. Mm-hmm. So the back room where your office is now and where you have some storage and stuff it used to be a poker room as well. Yeah. Yeah. Was that legal at the time?
Well, no, but it wasn't. But that, let me see if I can get this put together. It was a speakeasy, okay, first of all.
Right.
Okay, Prohibition in 1919. Prohibition ended in 33, I think. And in order for places like that, to stay open, something had to be going on. It was turned into a cigar and soda shop out front. But in a back, there was a speakeasy back there, and the guys went back there and drank and played poker, okay? And that stayed a poker room, for a really long time. I think into the 60s, it was still a poker room.
Oh, that long?
Mm-hmm. And it was against the law, but, somebody would go around town and collect the fine. You just paid the fine once a month. And, you give, an officer or something like that, a $25 fine or something like that, and everybody turned the other cheek, and they go down to the next place and collect the money, and everybody stayed open, and they operated that way until, things got tightened up. But that's how it was illegal, but everybody did it.
Right,
right.
Right.
But it just cost you. You know, it was like kind of like mafia, you know. You got to pay us if you want to be here. Well,
Right.
That's kind of the way it was. And I don't know what year that got stopped, but it was in the 60s sometime when the city finally said, you know, no more of that. So that back room is pretty cool. And after we bought the bar, there was some handmade, you know, because all the woodwork in the bar is hand done. And there was some furniture in the back room that was all handmade too. And I got a phone call from a guy, I think he was up in Montana. He says, I have the craps table that was in the back room. He said, it's all been redone, and calling to see if you'd like to buy it. And I'm like, well, where am I going to put that? You know, I didn't have any place to put it. So I turned him down. And then I got a call from a guy that had the blackjack table. And I had to turn him down too. But there was some furniture in the back, you know, like kind of a couch, you know, like, you know, a big wooden chair. You know, it was all padded cushion and everything like that. That was in the back room too, but I found out where that was just by accident one day. And it's down on the Keyline Ranch down by Newcastle. Candy Hardesty's parents got a hold of that furniture, and it's still in their house down there.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
cool.
In really good shape, you know.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I didn't make any attempt to get it back because I didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, you know, I just didn't know what I would do with it.
Right.
But anyway, so you have this gambling thing going on in the back room, and it got stopped over time. And during Prohibition, I want to back up on this a little bit, the bar that was in there, they had to take it out and put something else in, okay? And that got moved over to I think it was Marlowe or Gibo. They were the owners at one time, moved over to their place. And I think it was over on Burkett Street. And the story that I got is that they sold it to somebody over in Buffalo, and they had a speakeasy over there somewhere, and the revenuers came in and caught them. And they took an axe to that bar and chopped it up.
So the original Mint Bar
is gone.
Is gone. It
yeah.
got the authorities axed it, literally.
Yep. So, and then, you know, a guy in Sheridan here opened up a business not all that long ago, and he told me that he bought the original bar from somebody up in Montana, and he put it in this business, and I was like, no, wait a minute. You know,
you got bamboozled.
There may be something fishy about this, because, you know, I don't know how valid that story was, you know, that I got, and it was possible. But I had a picture of the old bar, and I went over and looked at his, and I'm going, and I got the picture, and I'm going like, these aren't the same things. And he said, no, the guy told me that was a real deal. And I said, well, you know, come over to the bar and look at this, you know, at this old bar.
I know the photo you're talking about, the black and white photo with the guy standing there. And yep.
And he goes, I think you're right. It doesn't look the same. I said, well, you know, it's whatever, you know. So anyway, there is no originality left, or no original bar left. That's gone. And anyway, you know, through time, the bar pretty much stays the same. These game heads, you know, that were put in there, Mac McVean and Wayne Elkins took ownership of the bar in about 1945, 46 or something like that. And Mac McVean owned a bar over in Thermopolis. And it was called Mac's Place, and it was about a block off of Main Street. I went and found it one time. Well, it's not there anymore, but I knew where the location was, and it's got a whole different front on the building now. But the original sign to Mac's Place is now at another bar on the west side of Thermopolis, just as you're leaving town. There's a little bar right there, and there's that big sign up there. It's called Mac's Place. Well, that was Mac McVean's, and they salvaged that sign, and they kept it and kept the name. And that's what that little place is called.
Great town, that's another one. Thermopolis is a great town.
Yeah. And I don't know if there's some family involved in that or not, but they kept the name. Anyway, Mac moves over here. him and Wayne Elkins become partners in the bar, and Mac and Wayne had this idea about putting the shingles up, okay, and, redecorating the bar. So that process started, like in 48. And there was a guy, Tuffy or something like that. He did a lot of the branding, and they got a registered Wyoming brand book, and that's where they got the brands, and they just started stamping these
So
cedar
for
shingles.
those of you guys listening, people that have been to the Mint Bar listening know what Monty's talking about. For those of you that don't, they took shingles, square, what are they, 5 inches by 5 inches, maybe a little bigger, maybe a little smaller, but
They vary in size, but they're cedar.
they're cedar,
shingles.
and they basically took all the registered cattle brands within the region, and they're branded on these
In the state.
In the state,
Yeah.
and they're branded on these wooden shingles, these wooden cedar shingles, and they're on the walls. And visually they're a couple layers deep because there's animals on the wall. There's all these photos and history on the wall. You have the bar itself with there's wolves up on top of the bar. There's rattlesnakes. There's moose. You got a bison head in there now. There's tons of stuff in there. But when you look at the shingles, you start looking at them. And I was sitting in there one day and I was like, good God, how many? You start counting just a section of them and go, man, there's 20 of them in this small section. Mm-hmm. How many cattle brands are on the walls at the Mint Bar and the ceiling?
9,000.
9,000 brands that somebody went in and did each one of those. And then, but just the fact Wyoming is 6 people per square mile, 500,000 people now. Back in the 40s and beyond that, there was a third of that. Yeah. And you have 9,000. So this is a cow state. It is a cattle state. It is it gets a gas and oil. But when you walk into the Mint Bar, make no mistake about it, it is a museum to the history of cattlemen and women and their families in this state. So there's 9,000. Just remember that when you come into the Mint Bar, look around and you go, it just kind of blows your mind. It blew my mind. It still does when I walk in there. 9,000 brands.
Each one of those brands represents, an owner of livestock.
Right.
It could be horse, sheep, or cattle.
Right.
That's a lot.
It's a heck of a lot.
Yeah. It had to be a lot of work burning all those in.
Yeah, by hand.
Yeah. Anyway, that's how the bar took on the shape that it is today. The bucking horse that's out there, that's, it's amazing, that sign is still up there after all these years. I can't get it pinned down when that got put up. But I did find some history on it. I stumbled across some a couple years ago. A man and a woman came in a bar, and they wanted to talk to me, and of course I'm going to, and she told me that her great-grandfather owned a paint store in this town. It's called Ferris Sign Company or something like that. Not the same Ferris that is the doctor here.
Right.
Okay. Right. Spelled a little bit different. But apparently he's the one that built the sign and put it up there. And another thing I found out was that Bernard Thomas was one of the guys that painted it. Now, Bernard Thomas is a pretty famous artist from around here. I think that he ended up in Buffalo. And if you look at some of these big paintings that are around, or if you go to the museum, he did some really nice work, and they're big oil on canvas paintings and stuff, landscape and some cowboy stuff in it. Really nice work. Well, that's kind of impressive having a guy like him painting that sign, So anyway, that's the thing about that sign, that somewhere around, my best guess is 50 or 51 when that sign went up.
I think it's one of the best signs in America. I just do. And you can see it. The beauty of it is Main Street, Sheridan is still Main Street America. You can stand on one end of it a mile down the road to the north or a mile down the road to the south, and you will see that sign at nighttime. It just pops, and it's like a time capsule.
Yeah.
It just literally, I don't care what age you are, what generation you are, even if you're a 15-year-old person now, you look at it and it just takes you back, everything you've seen in books, on movies and everything. It's just Main Street America.
Yeah.
I think it's the best sign in America. I really do.
You know, a guy posted it on Facebook one time, and he goes around and photographs old neon signs. And he posted this up, and he said, here it is, folks, best neon sign I've ever seen. And it was that bucking horse out there.
I couldn't agree
wow.
more. It just
Wow.
really is. There's just something. You don't have to be a cowboy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a bronc rider.
Yeah.
You don't have to be any of that. The sign just is a positive. It's just a beacon of Main Street America. It really is. But man, what a great history on that place.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is incredible. And you know, I've been in there enough to watch you. I've been in there lately. Just haven't been in lately. I need to come in more. But the one of the funniest things about you is how nice you are to everybody. But I've been in there a few times because it's a bar. It's going to happen. You know, it happens at every bar in America, no matter what it is. You're going to get ding-dongs in there who drink too much or run their mouths or have a big ego. And I've seen the other side of you. I've seen the manager of the Mint quickly resolve a situation before it escalates. And there's a lot of how old are you?
66.
There's probably half a dozen people in the country I wouldn't mess with, and Monty's one of them. Like I would, like I've seen a couple times I've been in there, and things could have gotten really ugly really fast because people were way over their limit and over, you know, they were just being idiots. You know, and you guys do a pretty good job if somebody's cutting people off and, hey, not sir, you know, you got to take that behavior somewhere else.
Take the rest of the night off.
Yeah, take the rest of the night off. Come back. We'd love to. You guys are very polite about it, but I've seen a few times where, you know, the old Patrick Swayze, you were nice until it was time to not be nice, and you have 75, 100 people in a bar, and you stopped it just like that, and it was a different side of you. And I've seen a lot of that with my background, you know, bar fights, whatever it is. Not me personally, but guys that know how to fight in a bar and cause trouble, whatever it is. And that whole bar both times just stopped, and everybody said, oh, shit. And I heard somebody say it one of the times. The room got real quiet. The music stopped, and somebody said, oh, shit, somebody pissed Monty off. That's not a good idea. And it was not a good idea. But anyway.
Well, no.
Because the bar is so hospitable. You go in there any time of day, and it's a comfort. You can't not feel comfortable when you walk in there, but you also, I think a lot of people would come in there, and if you're in the bar moving around or doing stuff, they wouldn't kind of peg you as the owner because you don't walk around like that. You know, you don't walk around like, oh, this is my place. I'm the king of the Mint Bar. Yeah. But people can easily talk to you, and I didn't know you were the owner of the bar until you and I had a conversation. But it's just a great place, but it's just funny to see that side of you because I know you grew up, you know, you're a good boxer, you're an athlete, but to see you, I think you're still in your prime, and I wouldn't come into the Mint Bar and cause trouble. I just wouldn't. On my best day, I wouldn't come into the Mint Bar and cause trouble, especially not when you were there. And it's funny because the girls that work there are great too. I share an alley. I don't own a building here, but the building that Bison Union is in shares an alley with you guys, and there's 4 dumpsters out there, and none of them have names on them of what businesses they belong to. So sometimes I'll go out there, you know, with trash and throw it in there. And I made the mistake this last week of using the Mint Bar dumpster. Before I
heard about this.
Before I even got the lid open, you know, the side door swings open, and this girl who's about 6'5" standing there, and she's like, hey, that's not your dumpster. You know, she was nice and polite, but it's just funny. It's just great. It's small town America. And I was like, hey, you know, they don't have names on them. One of these is ours. I'll move them down to a different dumpster. But it's just funny. The Mint Bar to me is the quintessential. I keep saying this. It is the quintessential American bar saloon. It's more of a saloon to me. I know you don't call it a saloon. It's a bar. But to me, it's again like something that if it was 1940, if it was 1910, you know, it still feels the same exact way to me. And I think that's disappearing a little bit in America. People are trying to get back there with the pandemic and COVID. I think a lot of people in America are waking up and going, we got to preserve some of the good stuff, and we can't be in such a hurry. You know, this has been a real lesson for a lot of people, but
it has been.
You know, the Mint Bar and a lot of small businesses are disappearing that have, you know, I grew up in Kansas City, and every time I talk to somebody back home, a restaurant that's 4 generations, that's been there forever, is done. You know, there's a for sale sign outside. And I think the Mint Bar just is timeless, and to be able to come to Sheridan and right smack on the middle of Main Street, have something like that that's a time capsule, It's remarkable.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great.
It is. And, I had to learn it from the ground up. And I didn't know that many people in town when we took ownership. And, when I walked in there after we were the owners, people were pointing their finger at me and, like that's the owner, and I didn't have a clue who anybody was. But the nature of it, and the bar and its history and stuff, it didn't take long to get to know some people.
Right.
And then it was, I couldn't keep up with it because I was learning, making new friends every day, and I couldn't keep track of all of it because that's where everybody went, Back in the day, you could come downtown, in the summertime, you could come downtown on a Wednesday night, and it was just as busy on Wednesday night as it was on Friday night or Saturday night because the partying started on Wednesday around here. And that place, was packed like rodeo on those nights, any given night. And there was, just so many people. And, I'm trying to get to know all these people and trying to figure out how to run a bar. And, wow, it was overwhelming. The place, when they say, it says on our sign where good friends meet, well, you might not be good friends with anybody when you go in there, but when you leave, you probably will be.
I've had, just with people I've connected with on social media and Bison Union and the other stuff we do, the amount of people that if I'm not in town or if I'm not down here that send me a picture in there. Yeah. And it's not just, they don't just send a picture, they say, man, we went in for one drink, we stayed there for 4 hours and they got to meet you. And I get one of those, with the COVID stuff going on, it's slowed down a little bit, obviously, but the bar's still open from 3 o'clock to what is it, 10 o'clock right now?
Yeah.
But the amount of people that come through this town that aren't from here that go in there and say the exact same thing, or they've met people there and ended up being friends with them. It's just remarkable. It's great. It's everything that a bar should be. It's not just a bar that's just trying to slam alcohol down people's throats and make money. It's way, way, way more than that.
Well, that was never our mission.
Yeah.
We wanted to preserve it as it is and what, the history that made it that way, and wanted to be welcoming everybody that wanted to come in, and we didn't want a bunch of trouble. I mean, how much fun is it, to go down to have a beer and, the next thing you know, you got your front teeth broke out, and you're bleeding all over the place. It's kind of hard to drink a bottle of beer that way.
Right.
And there was a lot of trouble going on when we took over, and I had to clean that up. And that wasn't much fun because there's a lot of big, strong guys around here. And, I had to tell a guy one time, he was starting trouble in there, and I had to tell him, you might think you're pretty tough. Young guy, starting fights, and, you pick out your prey and somebody that you can handle.
Yeah.
And you think you're tough. But I pointed my finger right in his face and I said, any given day, I said, there's 500 guys in this town that can beat the hell out of you on their worst day. And I said, and we're a little beyond that kind of stuff nowadays where fist fights, yeah, they happen, but somebody gets beat up, then they go out to their car and come back with a gun and blow a hole in you.
Right.
I said, this is what it escalates to nowadays, and we're not going to have it. So you're going on vacation. See ya. And that was the end of that. But the only way that I could get it cleaned up was because we had repeat offenders.
Right.
Same guys were fighting all the time. And it just took the fun out of the place. I had this, when I was in there and a fight broke out, the place just went quiet. People started getting real quiet. And the next thing you know, they're going home. Well, that's no fun.
No.
So I had to do something about that. So I just laid the rule down. You fight in here, you don't come back.
You're gone. Banned.
Forever. Not just 30 days, 6 months, whatever. It's for the rest of your life. And some of them challenged me on that. They didn't believe me.
3, 4, or 5 years later, they come back in and they go on
trying
vacation.
Trying to get in. I meant it. Oh, you didn't really mean it? Yeah, I did. It's over with for you. Don't come back. I hated being like that, but that's, I had to send a stronger message, to them. You could have a cop come down and get him arrested or something like that, but, I don't want to do that either. That's when people use their heads.
Yeah, and the police have better, they don't need to be dealing with drunkards and people fighting in bars.
And then they'd pay a fine and, I guess maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But, in a month, there they were doing it again.
Yeah.
So it wasn't soaking in. So, I had to run them. And then the word got around pretty fast after that. Didn't have much trouble.
Mess around at the Mint, you're going to go on vacation.
Yeah, it's not what that place is about.
No.
You're supposed to go in there and meet people, have fun, and there's lots of things to talk about.
There is, and I was actually at a birthday party for some kids. A buddy of mine's kids had a birthday party, and some guys from Buffalo and Sheridan that, I think they're probably in their 60s, were telling stories about riding horses. Like at one point rode a horse, not too long ago either, but riding a horse in the back door and out the front door.
Yeah.
So, which
there's people still want to do that.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, I tried to get you, you agreed to it if we could figure out how to do it, but to get a buffalo, inside the bar, and
you can bring that bear in,
or a bear, a bear, but bringing in a full size grizzly bear to do something, and then what's the movie?
Wild Horses.
Wild Horses with
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers and Ryan King from King Saddles and King Ropes is actually in the movie. He's the kid in the movie.
I'm sure he is.
But the guy gets thrown out the front window of the Mint Bar. So good movie, by the way, shot right here, but really good movie.
Yeah.
But Wild Horses, if you watch that,
it was a made for TV.
Yeah.
By MGM.
Yep.
Okay, you can't go buy that video somewhere. Somebody has to have it recorded it off a TV to a VCR.
Well, I think Bruce Moriarty, Bruce lives here in town, and he was one of the directors on Forrest Gump and 500 other movies, James Bond, Casino Royale, all that stuff. We were talking about it with Ryan King, and we actually found it.
Really?
It's one of the streaming services you can actually purchase it now, but it just got on the streaming service like 8 months ago. It wasn't new because we were all giving Ryan King crap that he's famous. He comes in the coffee shop and I say, "Hey, that's the guy from Wild Horses. That's the kid from Wild Horses."
That's pretty funny. I didn't know Ryan was in it, but
yeah,
Ben Johnson and Pam Dauber were in it, and Kenny, and I didn't know any of those people. I was in town when that happened. It was about 1986, I think. Yeah, 86 that they were here filming.
Yeah, it's just a neat bar. I text you one day last year, just a random text to say, "Hey, what are you up to?" And you're like, "Oh, the cast of Longmire's here in the bar." And I was like, I thought you were messing with me. And, I walk over there and sure enough, Sheriff Longmire and the whole crew's bellied up to the bar at the Mint Bar. I was like, what is going on here? I know they're actors, but when you walk in and see Walt Longmire, and I know you've got his autograph. He's been in there before. He signed one of your coolers in the back. But, when you walk in there and you see Sheriff Walt Longmire just, sitting at the Mint Bar like he lives here in town and just completely relaxed, and you guys are just joking. It was just cool. I don't get enamored by famous people too often because they're just people. And he messaged me on Facebook after I met him there. Nice. Those guys couldn't be nicer people.
They are. They're fun to hang out with.
Nice guy. Came into the coffee shop.
They're just regular people.
They are.
They just have a particular talent, and they're on TV.
Yeah. So, I just thought it was funny of all the bars of all the places to text you and you say, "Hey, you should come over and check it." And you walk in there. I literally thought you were messing with me, and I walk in and I don't watch too many TV shows, but that's one that I enjoy. But just anyway.
Because he's a down-to-earth sheriff.
Oh, man. He just walked up and down Main Street for 2 days with his daughter shopping and just enjoying Sheridan. And I would watch outside. Not one person would bug him. No photos, no nothing. Just that's Sheridan.
But if somebody recognized him, he would stop.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Take pictures, talk to him, shake hands, whatever. He'd spend 10, 15 minutes with you and then move on.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
He's a cool guy that way. And Adam Bartley is the same way.
Same way, yeah. Super
and
nice
I met
guy.
Bailey. What's the heck is his name? He was the deputy.
Yeah.
That got killed. His dad ended up killing him in the show. He was here. And I also met Abe Martinez. He's the guy, I forget his name in the movie, but had the casino. But
he's the.
But Walt had accused him of killing his wife.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw A. Martinez. It must have been 1985. I was training a driver, a UPS driver, in the alley across the street from here, over behind King's. Okay?
Right. Yep.
We were right behind where Smith Alley is right now. I was with the driver and going through the process and stuff, and I look up, and down the alley this guy was walking, and I was waiting for the driver to get back to the package car, and he got closer and closer to the package car and then walked right by the package car, and I'm going like, hey, that's that guy. He was doing soap operas at that time, and he's in one steady. He was a regular character there, and he's also the guy. He was a young kid when they did the movie The Cowboys. He was the kind of the outlaw kid who, coming in, and John Wayne didn't want him, and told him to leave or something like that, took his gun from him. But that was him, and he walked right by the package car, and I'm going like, yeah, hey, that's who that dude is. So anyway, when he was here 2 summers ago, and I think this might have been the first time he was here, with the group, he was at the bar, and it was kind of funny. I had them all in a back room, and I was showing them the history and everything, and we were talking, and he was on one side of the bar, and I was on the other when we came out and sat down, and he had his back to me, and I put my elbow up on the bar like I was going to arm wrestle him, and I tapped him on the shoulder, and I said, let's arm wrestle for a beer, and he went, no, I'm not doing that with you. Yeah, I was just joking.
Not happening.
I wasn't going to do that. I was just getting his attention. But it was then I told him, I said, I saw you in 1985 walking down the alley over here. And he said, I was in town. We were filming a scene for a movie called Pow Wow Highway. I'd heard the title, never saw the movie, but it had something to do with the reservation and things like that, He says, wow. He says, that's funny. You'd remember something like that. I said, you walked right by me, And he says, oh, man, small world. And anyway, he was a super friendly guy, too.
Yeah, the bar's great. I had Sam Davis on here. You said you listened to that podcast. I remember you and I sitting there, and you texted me and said, hey, are you around? You're going to be around for a while. I want you to meet this kid. We laugh about it. Sam and I laugh about it because you said meet this kid. I was expecting to walk in and see like a 17 or 18-year-old, 150-pound high school kid, and I walk in and Sam's as big as the door to the bar. And that's the first time I met Sam. You said, "Hey, you got to meet Sam. He's a good kid. He's not I laugh about it because he's a monster of a man.
Yeah.
But it was funny just to met him, and I've met a lot of people over there. Just a great bar. I could talk about it all day long. And I don't work for money. I don't have anything involved in the Mint Bar. For me, a lot of people come here and they come by the coffee shop. And if you come to town, go to the Mint Bar first. If it's the afternoon, go there. And because the history of Sheridan County, Johnson County, where Buffalo, Wyoming is, Campbell County, which is just east of here. The history of this region is on that wall in there. Take some time. Again, you don't have to walk in there. Nobody's going to get mad if you come in there and don't have a beer or you go get a Coke or something. Just go in and check out the Mint Bar. The other thing, this was not by chance. I just grabbed a gray sweatshirt, and by fate it happened to be the Mint Bar sweatshirt. Monty gave this to me 2 years ago, just as a gift. But if you come here, you go to the Mint Bar and then get a King's hat. But the Mint Bar arguably has the coolest merchandise as well, and this isn't a sales pitch. Their stuff is great, and it's historical. The hat that Monty's wearing right now is another one. But go into the bar, check out their T-shirts and hats. Get a drink if you want to sit and drink for 10 hours. Do it. It's a great place to just sit and watch the traffic come in. You can look out the window and see Main Street. But I keep saying this. Probably if I had to guess, top 5 bars in all of America from coast to coast. And I think it's the coolest bar west of the Rocky Mountains. I just do. The history of it, the town, where it sits. Come check out the Mint Bar if you're in town. And Monty more than likely is not far. If he's in there, say hi. He's not, he'll graciously say hi to you, as will his staff. But you're in there every day. Unless you're fishing. You're in there every single day.
Or home cutting my fingers off.
Yeah, I didn't talk about that, but
Yeah,
you're an accomplished woodworker. He's got a wood shop up at his house too. So, guy that can do anything and everything.
So when we end this, I just want to make sure everybody understands, that we just tried to keep it, what it is, and not over promote it into something that it isn't. And, it's a bar that anybody can come in and sit down, have a cold beer, cocktail or whatever, and make a new friend. I have met so many people over the years, I can't even keep track. It's impossible, to keep track of, a specific number or, somebody that I met in 1990, in that bar. It's just overwhelming. It's a very important place on Main Street in Sheridan. And
I'd arguably, I'm interrupt you, and I would arguably say it's the most important place on Main Street, which is a big deal for me to say because I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a big partier. I think it's to me, it's a museum that serves libations.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to turn it into, a tourist attraction other than the sense that it's a museum. It's the history of it, like you're saying. Sorry to interrupt, but I think it's the most important place on Main Street, without a doubt.
Well, it sure could be. I
know you're not going to say that.
No, I'm not.
I'm going to say it. I think it is the most important attraction on Main Street and probably in this town, which
you see it from, after 30 years, you see it in a different way than I do.
Right.
Okay. It's just the way it is. But after all these years, we've kept the tradition there, and we let it be what it wants to be, and we welcome everybody from someplace in Wyoming to Belgium. I have a guest book in there, and we have autographs from all over the world, and it's really kind of fun to look back. Sometimes I just, I don't have anything to do. I get one of those books out, those guest books out, and I page through there, and I look at the comments and where these people are from, and literally almost anywhere in the world, somebody has come in that bar, and I've had people come in that bar, from another country, and I go like, well, how'd you find out about this place? Well, our friends, were here last year and said that if we were going to Yellowstone, you make sure you stop at that bar. So it's word of mouth, that it gets around. And
there's this is not a negative comment by any means, but there's other bars in this region that have, big names and a big history, but you go in them, it's not the same feel.
Yeah.
It's a tourist attraction, and it's getting people in, getting people out.
Yeah.
This is not what the Mint Bar is. I think the Mint Bar is what some of those bars. I won't even go into that. I don't want to sound like I'm being negative because they're great bars.
Yeah.
And they serve the purpose they do, and they're good to their customers, and they're neat to go into. But it's not the same. The Mint Bar is not a low rent tourist attraction or a dive bar that is on a dive bar list or something. It's not like that. It is a piece of history, and it's a very well preserved piece of history that I think is the personification of hard work meeting downtime off and relaxing. Over what 100 and we're at 115 years now, getting there. Yeah. Sorry, I get excited. Me, the first time I walked in there and met you, I literally was just standing with my eyes wide open, turning around in a circle, going, "What in the hell is this place? Yeah. It's amazing."
Yeah. I remember I'm one of the first people you really got to know.
You are the first person. PJ, obviously from Bighorn Design, who does some of our hats and T-shirts. But you were the next person I met. You and Tanya.
And I loved telling you about it.
Oh, it's great. And we could talk about it for hours. There's we didn't get into when you pull into Sheridan. And most people are coming from the east to the west. But when you come into Sheridan in the right direction, there's a giant tree. That is lit up right now. It's probably 70 feet tall. At the base of that tree is a statue of a man that is not a big man, but it's a bronze statue that's done really well, and he's got an elk rack over his shoulders. The same photos on the bar at the Mint Bar. We should have you back on sometime to talk about that during hunting season or talk about that person. But a small Greek man that came here with his family and, is the quintessential, I keep using that word, the quintessential immigrant that came to America to work hard and moved to the middle of Wyoming, which is not back then, even now, it's not an easy place to live. It's not hard if you have the right clothes, the right equipment, the right machinery, but back then it was not an easy place to live and start a business. But, that would be a good person to talk about you gave me that story and I was just blown away by it.
Yeah. How kind of man, Sam Everett.
Yes. Yeah.
He, he loved kids, had a really cool sporting goods store just 2 doors down from us. He was friendly to everybody. Some people just have that thing,
Yep.
Sam didn't. Just because I was the owner of the bar, the new owner of the bar down there, he didn't say anything about me. We just sat down and talked, and he told me stories about, him and Mac McVean going to Alaska hunting and, and of course everybody knew Sam and everybody's got a story about him, But if you were a little kid and Sam loved fishing, those old cheesy Zebco fishing poles that you get, every now and then a handle will fall off of one of those and you lose that nut that goes on there. Well, I swear they changed the thread on all of them, about twice a year. You could never find a nut, to put that handle back on with. But if you took your pole down to Sam, he'd dig through a box of stuff that he'd have and he'd fix that fishing pole
for you
for a kid, so he could go fishing. He wouldn't charge you anything for it. He just did it, And that's one of the things that made Sam so famous is that he was just a good guy that way.
Yeah, and you said it. You're one of I think the second person that I really met here in town, other than the staff of Bighorn Design who I was working with, and I had doubts about moving. We picked up and moved here to the center of Wyoming,
just out of the blue.
And people talk about it all the time. I'm going to move somewhere. It was on my list. I wanted to live in a rural, remote area near some mountains, and that first year of being here was not easy. It wasn't not easy in the sense of any issues other than just reestablishing your life and building something. But I can't thank you enough. The Mint Bar, I haven't been in there much, obviously. It's been a lot going on. I've been traveling a lot, and I have been finding solace and I'm sure you've had periods of time like that in your life. I just like being by a fire with my dogs up in the mountains.
What's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing. And I'm kind of rebooting a lot going on. Just your priorities can get away from you. And some things become more important than others. And for me, for a while, it was money, and some other stuff became more important to me than just being a decent, happy person every day and waking up and being grateful for being alive. And, you're one of those people that kind of helped me reboot that stuff.
You got to take time out every day to do something for yourself, something that you like to do. And you also have to take time out every day to do something else for somebody else, so that you don't focus on yourself so much.
Right. The other thing that you do that you taught me that I've watched you is that I've always been really bad at, and again, this isn't in a negative light, you're one of the few people I've met that has no problem saying no.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's not a negative thing. You're not a jerk, you're not mean, but if something doesn't work out right, you don't have a problem saying no. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Monty, do you want to go to dinner tonight? Nope. I'm going to go home. Monty, do you want to do this? You should do that with the bar. Nope. Yeah. You should sell this T-shirt or hat. Nope. Yeah. And a lot of people won't do that. And even if they want to say no, they don't say no. They beat around the bush which, I'm learning from people like you that it's okay to say no. Yeah. Nope, that's not good for me. It's not good for you. It's not in my priorities, or it's not important to me right now because of this. No. Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of reflection in the last year or two, when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Now I have a manager to run the bar. I don't have to be there every day. And I've just been home, with the 2 new puppies.
Which cracks me up because Matilda's walking around behind us back here, and Monty used to come over. Monty would come over. Oh, I'm never going to, I don't want a dog. I don't need a dog. I don't want a dog. And then he would come down to Bison Union And it just, again, it would be a stop in for I was over here talking about making some hats, and you'd make your rounds to pet the dogs when they were all here every day, and then Matilda in particular, and then you'd started bringing treats in your pocket.
Yeah.
And then a month ago, 2 weeks ago, I ran into you you text you, and you said, I've been busy with this, and he sends me a picture of, not one, but 2 brand new puppies he's got.
Two Frenchies.
2 Frenchies that he's got at his house. It's just ironic. They're great.
They are. But what I was getting at, I spent a lot of time, at home, through the summer because of the COVID thing, just trying to stay away from it. And I had a lot of time, to think about the last 30 years at that bar. And there's some things that I would change, for sure. But it has been an adventure, and your life should be an adventure, owning that place. I never thought I was better than anybody else, and I still don't. But it's been a privilege, having that place, and my brother feels the same way, I wish he would have been able to come up here and spend a lot more time in it than he had, and give me a break from it for a little while. And I was away from it a little bit, but when you get older, I guess, and this is one of the things that you do, is you start reflecting back on your life a little bit. What would I change? What would I do? What would I do better? What should I do now? I'm not trying to, set up some kind of a thing where people remember me because I own the mint. I'd rather have people remember me because I was a decent guy and I shared what I had.
Right.
I'd rather be remembered for that. But my name will be attached to that bar. And it's okay because it's a cool place. And it's a cool place because of what it was when we bought it, and then there isn't much difference in it right now.
Which is hard to look at any bar in America or any kind of retail operation. Or, for 30 years and not changing a thing is pretty remarkable.
We have this brochure, this walking tour guide that goes through the bar, and we have a little story about the bar for the people from out of town. They can read this and get a little feel for, what the place is. But there's a little short passage at the end of it that kind of sums it up. If you don't mind, I'll just read
Please
this.
do.
It's just a few lines.
Please do.
It says, the Mint Bar is a thriving institution that achieves the rare combination of current service to the community while preserving the colorful history of the Big Ranch era and the memory of those who lived it.
Well said.
That is the bar, and that's what we've tried, the way we've tried to keep it. So stop in.
Yeah, come by the bar again.
You make sure you got your ID out when you come through the door.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we ran you out of there about a year ago, didn't we?
Yeah, I haven't. I honestly, I think the only place I've really eaten or visited in the last year, just again, I'm enjoying cooking at home, is McDonald's. Don't ding me for that.
Oh man,
I know you're going to give me a hard time, but I'll be back in there a lot more.
You're going to get the meat sweats.
I know
from eating at
McDonald's.
Were you in the bar that night? I think you were there, weren't you? When a girl reached over and choked Tanya?
Yep. That was one of the nights where,
Wow.
And, I had been talking to you. I'm not a big guy at all, but the chaos happened so fast that, it was a fight it wasn't a fight. It was a quick confrontation between 2 women. And the only way to fix that was to, break them apart. Well, there were some guys there that had happened so fast that didn't realize that it was you that was pulling them apart. They thought it was somebody who was, mistreating a woman. Yeah. It's so fast.
Yeah.
But I jumped behind you, and I'm a lover, not a fighter. Like I just, I don't like that kind of stuff because one punch these days can kill somebody.
Yeah.
Or like you said, somebody will go out to their car and make a permanent decision in a temporary situation and shoot somebody in the face.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on the back end of that.
Yeah.
But a table of guys got up, and I got old man strength for my age, and and then I was like, oh God, I pushed 2 guys back into a bar, and then they were all looking at me like, you really want to fight all 4 of us? But then again, you turned around and everybody's like, okay, it's Monty. This is good.
Yeah.
But just so fast. And the bar was crowded that night too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are, but 100 people or so. The Mint's not a huge bar, which is good. You can see the entire bar from the front door, or from the pool table in the back. You can see the entire bar up front. I love it. I love it's a long, skinny bar. You can see everything, and there's 2 entrances. But yeah, that was chaotic.
Yeah.
And I'd been living a quiet life here. In the past fights, I was in the middle of bar fights. Not me, because I'm a lover, not a fighter, but that's the first time in a long time that I'd been in a situation like that, and it was just like, whew.
Well, it's scary,
It is. It's super fast, and you don't know who's got a knife. You don't know who's got a gun. You don't know what's going to happen or who's going to sucker punch you. And we were in a tight. You and I were back to back in a tight space.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, please, like, oof.
But, well, that girl reached over and choked our friend.
Yeah.
Stuck her hand around her throat, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, and I had that girl's arm, off of the
real
friend.
Fast. Real fast.
Yeah. But you're right. There were guys all over the place, and I was kind of cringing because I was afraid I was going to get hit right in the back of the head.
You almost did. Like, that's the way it was going, because they thought they didn't realize you were the owner and manager of the bar trying to stop the situation from escalating. And they just saw you grab a woman's arm and stuff. And I saw the guy's eye, and he was doing the right thing. He's like, oh man, that girl's in trouble. But then, it was like, whew. But just so fast, and again, the Mint's not like that.
No.
I'm sure over 30 years there's been some good Donnybrooks in there, and people, some good fights. It's cowboys, gas and oil guys every now and then. Somebody's gonna grab somebody's girl's butt or say the wrong thing to somebody, or like you said, guys that are pissed off at the world and probably never been really punched in the mouth before in their life, that think they're tougher than everybody else. But all in all, and I'm assuming that it's just a rare occurrence there. Because it's also Wyoming. Yeah. You got to assume everybody has a gun here, and you got to assume everybody can handle themselves to a point and isn't afraid of a fight. They might not be a good fighter, but you're going to hurt. You're going to feel it.
Yeah.
And I think I feel that about Wyoming. You go anywhere here, and men and women here are not going to back down from a fight if it's over something they stand for.
Well, it's still the West around here.
It is.
Yeah.
And like I said, you might win the fight, but you're going to feel like you got hit by a train. It's Wyoming. People here are tough.
And you're really not going to be friends with anybody.
No.
Nobody likes that.
No, that's the beauty of Sheridan. It's people don't want trouble here. They don't want nonsense. Again, that's why, to me, this town, and this isn't a tourism pitch, like, don't move here. It's full. Wyoming's full. But I was the last one. I got the last ticket. But it reminds me of a really well-run town in the Wild West, the late 1800s, early 1900s, where they just, people don't want trouble here. They don't overstep their bounds. It's not martial law. You don't have a thumb on your head. The new police chief is absolutely great. Travis Koltiska is one of the nicest, most decent human beings I've ever met in my life.
He's going to be great to work with.
He is, and he's open-minded, but he's also stern, and his family has grown up here. But
he's got a big job.
He does.
To do.
A real big job in a time when, people are fleeing cities to move to rural areas and, manage that. You and I have had that conversation.
Yeah.
Managing the growth of a town like this that's so special.
Yeah.
But it's a great town. People don't want trouble here, but if trouble comes here, and I think the bar's the same way. It literally reminds me, there should be somebody standing at the door going, check your firearms at the coat rack. It just feels like that to me. Every movie I've ever watched, every old West town I've been in, the Mint Bar to me feels like if it was 1847 and I was going in to get a drink, that's where I'd be walking into. You walk in the door and go, man, this is it.
Yeah. Dust everywhere.
Yep, this is it. Don't cause trouble. Enjoy yourself.
Guys wearing chaps.
That's what it feels like to me. Anyway, I could talk about it for hours.
Yeah, it can go
Both
on
you
forever.
and the Mint Bar have been a key to, transitioning into the second or third or fourth phase of my life, and I think the final one. I think you've helped me a lot. I used to come to your house weekly for dinner, and when Tanya was living here, and Candace and I would come to your place, and, it really helped me. But that place has helped me just as much. It's a neat place.
Yeah.
I love driving by it. And I come down to work out early in the morning here at 5 o'clock. I leave to go right back up and do the dogs and stuff before I come back down for work. But when I go up the mountain, I always take the same route. I leave the parking lot. I hit Grinnell and Maine and take a left, and just, even at 6 o'clock in the morning with nobody in town, the traffic lights blinking, the Mint Bar sign is a beacon of America. It's
Yeah.
Americana.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's a privilege to be here, especially when I go, to a city somewhere like New York or, I went out to New York a couple of years ago and watched the Yankees, a bucket list thing, first time ever.
Yeah, I remember
in New
that.
York.
Yep.
It's people don't say hi. People don't make eye contact. You go in a place, you're just a person. They want your money, and they're going to treat you right, or I guess. But that you don't get that feeling between, like we could be friends someday.
No, and
No,
I
you don't
get
get
it.
that
I
feeling.
get it at your place. I get it at the co-op getting gas in my truck.
Yeah.
I get it at the wherever you go.
Yeah.
People are just. It's just.
Arizona or D.C. I was there too, and yeah, you say hi to people and stuff, and they just kind of keep walking, and it's just kind of our nature out here. I mean, if you're from this part of the country, you say hi or you wave,
Yeah.
And when you don't get a response back, you feel a little offended. That's what you get from this part of the country is, you could be friends here with somebody in a matter of minutes, because people say hi and they talk to you. And at the bar over there, I mean, I struck up conversations with people, the tourists that come in there. I didn't know them from Adam. I just went over and stood in front of them. Where are you guys from? And as we talked, then they knew that I owned the place, but it wasn't about that. It was about...
Yeah, it's about a connection.
Yeah, what do you do
human
over
connection.
What do you do in Amsterdam, And,
right.
And then they'd be asking me questions about the West, and those kind of people remember that, And then when that's over with, I just go about my business.
Yeah.
And go back outside and, go fishing, whatever.
I love it.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up here, the one line that I keep that's just like a bright light. It's like your Mint sign blinking in my head right now, as you said 10 minutes ago. Life's an adventure.
Yeah.
Life should be an adventure.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have a big issue with is specifically my background, military people, but now it's everybody. Not everybody, but the good vast majority of people. I think, there's a lot of people in this country who hit autopilot and found a standard in their life. I'm going to go to college or I'm not. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do this. And that's what I just need to do. I need to have a house and a white picket fence, and I need to pay my bills. You started what would be your second career and your second life by buying a bar with no bar experience at all. That's an adventure. What do you recommend to somebody who's out there right now that is going, man, I've got a little bit of money in the bank, but I'm not happy at my job in the corporate world or wherever it is. I've always wanted to open a woodworking shop, a fly shop, a bar, a restaurant. What's your advice to those people? Putting you on the spot here.
Well, it takes a plan, to be successful at it. We got a little bit lucky here because that bar was already established.
Right.
Okay. But if somebody's going to go out and do that, you want your own business and stuff, have a plan and be prepared, to sacrifice a lot because it takes a lot. And my brother and I practice the same thing. And that is, he heard this somewhere and then told it to me. And we kind of practice the same thing. It's called deferred gratification. Okay? Spend your time working hard. Make time for your family or whatever like that. But work hard and be dedicated to what you do. And after you're successful at that, the rewards will come later. Like for me, I just retired. I saved, my whole life. And now I have enough money to go do whatever I want to do. I hope I don't die before I spend
right.
or get to see, what the things that I want to do. I got around some, when I was younger, been a few places, but, I didn't. My sense of adventure took me to the mountains, camping and fishing, and that's what I like to do. I didn't get too far away, but that's...
No, but like last year, you were on 10 different flights and, to go into the remote jungle and, a marshland in the middle of South America.
Buenos Aires, east or west of Buenos Aires.
Traveling and flying for 100 hours and chaos, which again, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, and more of the sense of, I think people get real comfortable, but they're unhappy and comfortable at the same time versus saying, hey, I'm going to be a little bit uncomfortable for a while, but I can do this. Yeah. If I can work at a company, and this isn't a negative thing, if you can work at UPS and put it that much into a corporation making money, you can do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You can take the same work ethic, the same time, the same standard, maybe even a little more. Mm-hmm. And the risk is obviously a lot larger because it could fail.
Yep.
But you control your own destiny at that point. Unless something catastrophic happens, your hard work then is, it's your engine, your car, not you driving somebody else's car.
Yeah. And in the end, the success you have with it, may be small, it may be great. But whatever it is, it was your choice to do it that way.
Right.
And that's what you have to be thankful for, that you live in a country that you can do that, and be thankful for the life that you had, I got lots of wisdom to share, but we don't have enough time here for that.
No, we'll have to have you back on.
Yeah.
We will, because, there's certain things like your and I relationship I love because you and I will be 180-degree opposite and disagree on certain things, but that's you can just, it's okay to my point is it's okay to disagree with people.
Sure.
Just be a decent human being.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like you said, you've said it before to me, but now that it's out there and we're talking about deferred gratitude, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's a great concept, but the one thing that I'm going to take away from this and push as I tell people to listen to this podcast is life should be an adventure. It really should. Mm-hmm. Your time on this rock that's spinning around in the middle of space is limited. Yeah. Enjoy it.
I didn't do enough of that, in my strong working years. I should have taken more time, to go just do one thing, okay? Maybe, once every 6 months or something like that. I didn't do very much of that because it's just been work. That bar, was a handful. It was a 7-day-a-week thing.
Well, and it's hard to turn over your business. I've been doing this for 5 years. It's hard to turn your business over that you built that was a concept. Obviously, the Mint Bar is established, but you have kept the machine. It's yours. You bought it.
Yeah.
And when you buy it, you buy everything. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to turn over everything to somebody else.
Yeah.
Even if you know them, they've worked for you for a while, they're a good person, it's hard to walk away and go, did they do this? Yeah. Did they do that?
Yeah.
Did they lock the doors?
Oh, yeah.
Did they turn this off? Did they...
Makes you crazy.
Yeah. Did they leave something on? It's just, to me, and I'm getting to the point where it's okay for me, like this is stuff. Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to manage it. There's going to be mistakes if it's not intentional. Anyway, that's a whole... You and I could talk for hours.
Well, keep the adventure, in
yes.
your life. And don't be afraid, to go out and sample what it's like to be somewhere else or do something different. You have to mix it up a little bit in your life. I wish I'd have done more, but I'm dead set on making up for what I didn't do.
You're rocking and rolling. Every time I talk to you, you got something cool planned that you've worked hard in your life to go to Buenos Aires or to go to Alaska, wherever it is. But you're definitely living the adventure now. But you also, I keep saying it, you're also very comfortable just at home.
Yeah, I like being
relaxed, and it's okay to do that too.
No, but it's because of that bar, and the people that I met in there that got me to go fishing, with a group of guys from here in Sheridan that do that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I've been on several of those trips, but it was because of who I met in the bar, Became friends. This is what these guys do. I want to go.
Yeah, it's great.
So they signed me up and let's go.
Great.
So that's a great adventure, and we could carry on here for a long time. So maybe another day. Yeah,
Monte, thanks for coming on the podcast, and I keep saying it for you. If you're going to come out this way, if you're going to be within 100, 200 miles, you're going to Yellowstone, Cody, whatever, and you make it to Sheridan, go in the Mint Bar. You don't have to be a drinker. You just go in the Mint Bar and order a Coke and, just look around. And if Monty's there, introduce yourself. Know that he owns a business and has to run it. Can't talk to you for 7 hours, but he probably will. But, go in and check out the Mint Bar. It's a piece of history that is every bit the Wild West in modern times. For Monty and myself, thanks for listening, and say hi to your dogs.
Perfect.